My wife cheated while I was recovering from an accident, showed no remorse, so I made her regret it. Hey guys, I 40 male have been married to Christine 39 female for about 10 years now, and we have one child, my lovely daughter who's 9 years old. Like any marriage, we've had our ups and downs, a lot of downs to be honest, but we come through everything fine. There's been no infidelity, but there have been trust issues on both our parts. I will admit, however, that in the last 2 years or so, I've done my best as a husband, and I think I've maintained a good record. My wife and I have a good life in the bedroom. We're getting older, but things haven't dropped off too significantly from back when we met. I've always been very thankful for that because I've been involved with women who might as well have been celibate, and it was frustrating to say the least. No amount of communication fixed anything, so a woman who actually wants to roll around in bed is a blessing to me. I owned a business before I met my wife, and when we got married, she eventually joined me at the helm to run things. About 2 weeks ago, I got into an accident on my way to work. I got T-boned at a red light and woke up in the hospital with a broken femur and humerus. Yeah, needless to say, that wasn't fun. Once it was certain there wasn't any internal damage, I was sent home in 2 days with a cast on my arm and leg. Obviously, my movement was impaired quite a lot, but I was able to find my way around the house with a lot of stumbling and leaning on things. Of course, there were certain things I was unable to do, and Christine had to help me with them for about the first week. She seemed fine with it, and every time I asked her if it wasn't too much of a burden, she'd say no with a big smile. However, once I crossed over into the second week, I started to notice a change in her attitude. To be honest, when I said our life in the bedroom is good, it's really good, and we usually don't go a full week without anything happening, my first assumption was that it might have been because of that. Especially since I was starting to feel my body craving it too. Again, when I asked her if I was being a burden, she said no, but this time she seemed more short with me. I asked her straight up whether it was because of the lack of action between us, but she said it wasn't, and left the room promptly after that. In that moment, I really felt like it was. But I also felt that being married as long as we have, she'd be able to answer me truthfully with a question like that. My mouth and one of my hands still worked, so I felt like we'd be able to work things out. Now, here's the thing. Yesterday, she came back home after managing the business on my behalf, and she was very clearly in a much better mood than she had been all the other days. Like, I could describe her mood as bubbly. I don't know if I'm being paranoid, but since I feel like her mood before was because we couldn't be intimate, I'm suddenly overthinking whether she was able to get somebody else to take care of that side of things for her. I mean, she's never cheated on me. Does anyone ever know for sure? And apart from that sudden change in her mood, I wouldn't have anything else to use to suspect her. But, talking to her, there didn't seem to be any obvious reason for her sudden happiness. So, before I do anything rash, not like I can, with the way I am right now, I want to hear all of your opinions. Should I try and do some digging? Or should I just assume that she was just happy for some other reason? I mean, I feel like I might be jumping to conclusions after such a long time of knowing each other, but let me know what you all think. Update. Hey everyone, it's been about 3 weeks since my last post, but I'm back with an update. A lot of you said I should go ahead and check her phone. Partners should be allowed to check each other's phones if they have nothing to hide. I know she can check mine as much as she wants because I've never had anything to hide. Well, I eventually did check, and boy did I find things. Anyway, I wasn't about to ask her to hand it over, because that would give her the chance to delete any evidence. I had to gain access to it at a time when I would have enough time to search through everything and potentially save any proof I found. Just so you know, after that day when she was all happy, she slowly went back into her mood, and then another day, she was all bubbly again. It was the third time that she came back all happy that I got my chance. She was chewing gum, but I was sure I could smell a slight scent of booze following her. She also didn't kiss me when she got back home, but she was happy. I think it might have been whatever she drank, but it didn't take long for her to fall asleep, and she left her phone right beside her in bed. I had never checked Christine's phone before, but I was very anxious as I did it because I was scared she could wake up at any moment, and I'd have to start trying to explain myself. But the anxiety from not knowing whether she was cheating on me was honestly a lot worse, so I pushed through. There were no photos or videos of her with anyone unusual, but it was when I went to her messaging app that I saw an unread message from an Alex. Squinting at the profile picture, I saw it was the same Alex I knew that worked for me. Things were very formal until about a day before my wife came home all bubbly for the first time. Alex had started flirting with her heavily, and she returned the energy. He must have gotten some kind of green light at work that day to come on strong. And it just made it clear how little I knew while I was at home recovering. I noticed that on the 3 occasions when my wife came back in a brighter mood, Alex always asked her if she had gotten home. But he never did that on other days. Between those days, there was some flirting here and there, but nothing extreme, though it might as well have been. I took several pictures with my phone and put hers back. This was about 2 days ago, and I really don't know what to do. She didn't seem any different the next day, so I don't think she suspected I touched her phone, probably because she was tipsy. But I really don't know what to do. I have all the evidence I need to come to a very solid conclusion that my wife has cheated on me with my employee at least 3 times. But how do I proceed from here in a way that actually makes sense? Do I just say divorce and figure everything out from here? The thing is, I feel so hurt. We haven't had a super rosy marriage, but for the most part, it has been good. Cheating never seemed to be a fear of mine, but after I had an accident, that's when she decided to cheat on me. I've struggled to act normal around her, but I really don't know if I can take it any longer. I need this to end, but I can't let it just end with a divorce. I need more than that. I need to feel satisfied. Please, I've been trying to think of things I can do, but my mind is failing to put 2 thoughts together. I'll be waiting to hear what advice you all may have for me. Who needs crutches when you've got a keen eye for uncovering infidelity? Alright, now let's talk about your wife's little rendezvous with Mr. Employee of the Month, Alex. Looks like he's been taking more than just coffee breaks with her, huh? As for your dear wife, well, she's got some explaining to do, doesn't she? Cheating on you while you're laid up with broken bones? Talk about adding insult to injury. Now, on to the fun part, revenge. Sure, you could go the traditional route with a messy divorce, but where's the fun in that? Why not get a little creative with your payback? So, get plotting, get even, and most importantly, get back to living your best life without a cheating spouse dragging you down. After all, there's a whole world out there just waiting for you to conquer it, broken bones and all. Update, wow, time flies. It's been a long time since my last update, but after posting it, I think I must have read through every single comment there. Thank you to everyone for all the kind words and suggestions. They certainly contributed to my approach. The first thing I did was to find a divorce lawyer. I didn't pay a retainer at that time, but just wanted to know what I could about his services. At that point, I still stupidly felt like there could be an explanation for what I had read on her phone, so I decided to confront her before making anything final. It was a bit easier for me to move around on my own, so I told her that I wanted to follow her to work to see how things were going and say hi to the employees. She tried to weakly convince me to just stay at home, saying that she had everything under control, but by then I knew nothing was going to stop me from going. So, about an hour later, I was in the passenger seat, and we were heading to our business location. Most of the guys were super happy to see me, Alex included, though he seemed a lot more awkward than the rest of them. My wife also didn't seem to be super happy that I was there. Towards the end of the workday, I called for Alex to come into my office, and I did that when my wife was somewhere close by. I noticed her freeze up as I did that, and she actually followed Alex into my office, which she normally wouldn't do if it were anyone else. But I didn't tell her to leave. Both of them seemed shifty, though I might have been imagining it. I only asked Alex something about a client we had been dealing with before the accident happened. And I could actually see the fear disappear from his body as he realized I was just asking about something relatively trivial. Once the day ended, I headed back home with my wife, and she was slightly talkative, maybe because she realized or at least assumed that she hadn't been found out. I felt like I had more than enough suspicion at that point to be very direct with her, so I decided that I would do it the next day when she returned from work. Perhaps fortunately for me, the next day was another one of those days when her mood seemed to be better than usual, which triggered me because it made me assume she had just been intimate with my employee minutes before. She was probably made bolder because she felt she had confirmation that I didn't suspect it one bit, but that was just part of what gave me the courage to confront her. Minutes after she walked in, I asked her to sit across from me, and I asked her straight up, "Are you cheating on me with Alex?" She froze, but it wasn't for long. Then she said, "Yes." Right after that, she stood up and headed toward the kitchen. I told her to sit back down and that I wasn't done, but she still went to the fridge to get a silly yogurt cup. Only then did she come back. Honestly, I could already tell she didn't seem to be remorseful based on her behavior. I asked her, "Why? Why did you think that was a good idea?" She went into explaining how she has needs as a woman, and I wasn't providing those needs for her. I pointed out that I had been in a freaking accident, that I still had casts on, and her major concern was that there was no sex. I told her that if she had told me how dire her needs were, we could have found a way to sort things out, at least until I was healed. But she only shook her head and said, "It wouldn't have been the same." Honestly, in that moment, I was lost for words. I was expecting crying and pleading in obvious guilt, but the stupid woman in front of me was trying to justify her cheating. I asked her directly whether she was sorry, and she told me no. She repeated again that she had needs, and I couldn't provide them. It wasn't her fault that she wouldn't deny herself pleasure because I had gotten myself T-boned by an SUV. Yeah, I hate to admit it, but I lost all the cool that I had at that moment. I struggled to my feet and walked over to her in an intimidating way. I didn't raise a fist or anything, but as I approached her, she stood up and shoved me hard. I lost balance and hit our wooden coffee table on the way down. I hit my shoulder, nothing was broken, I eventually confirmed, and I lay on the floor in pain. A few minutes later, I heard the front door close and her car start up and drive away. Yeah, my wife, soon-to-be ex, knocked me over and didn't even check if I was okay. I literally had 2 casts on. It was a few minutes before I could struggle up onto the couch, and my shoulder was in a lot of pain. The first thing I did was call the police because I had actually lost all respect and love for her in that moment. I was seeing red. Apparently, the noise of our argument had woken up my daughter, and she was hiding near the top of the stairs. When she saw me get pushed, she started crying. Seeing her like that broke my heart. She kept asking what had happened between me and her mom, but I didn't know what to tell her. Eventually, the police came, took a report from me, and I was taken to the hospital along with my daughter for an X-ray. Fortunately, there was no lasting damage to my shoulder. Considering I was on the way to recovery, I'd have been pissed if I broke something else. As soon as I got back home that night, I put my daughter to bed and sent a message to the divorce lawyer telling him that I was ready to go ahead with things. Christine hasn't come back home in the 3 days since that happened, and I haven't even contacted her. My daughter keeps asking where her mom is, but I had to make up a stupid excuse that she went to visit her sister. At this point, it's actually war, and I think I have everything I need to make things collapse for Christine. She wasn't sorry for cheating on me, but my goal is to make her sorry. Wow. I mean, yeah, everyone has needs, but here's the thing, bones heal. That's just the kind of thing they do. Not only that, but like you said, there are other ways to make things work out. I guess your wife missed the memo about in sickness and in health and went straight to the in bed with the office assistant option. From filing police reports to prepping the divorce, you're like a one-man vengeance machine. And with your daughter by your side, you've got all the motivation you need to turn this circus into a spectacle. Update. As I'm writing this, which should be the final update of my story, I'm doing so with a big smile on my face. I know it has been months since my last update, but if you're big fans of the sensation we call schadenfreude, you're going to like this one. I know I do. The first thing I did was send text messages to every single one of Christine's relatives that I knew, from her parents to a cousin I had only met twice. I even sent it to the friends whose numbers I had, because I was pissed. I didn't write a single thing that wasn't true, and I even sent them the pictures I had taken of the flirting between her and Alex back then. Some of them responded, and some didn't. The ones who responded were more sympathetic, and I assumed most of those who didn't were on Christine's side. My job there was done. Whether they took her side or not, I made sure her sleazy behavior was well documented. After that, I went into work and met Christine there. She was shocked to see me, probably thinking I was too crushed to do anything. It was barely 10 seconds before I pointed to her and Alex, the employee she had been cheating on me with, and told them they were both fired. She used to be my wife, but she was merely an employee. Her name was nowhere in the business paperwork, and I'm glad I had never brought her in on that extent. Alex was surprised by the suddenness of it all, but he couldn't argue because he knew he was guilty. He had worked for me for 3 years, and he's surely going to have a fun time trying to use me as a reference for his next job. Meanwhile, Christine looked furious. She walked up to me. Honestly, I was scared I was going to get hit again, though that would have worked nicely for me, and when she was at arm's length, I sprung the divorce papers on her. Her face turned red because our employees were there, but I didn't care. She snatched the papers from me and marched out of the place. The rest of the day was awkward, and I had to deal with a lot of cursing and texts from her later once she realized the full extent of the people I had told about her cheating. But wait, my story doesn't end there, it still gets good. Remember the assault? I had a police report and a hospital report, and I went to the police station at the close of business to report things. I told them I wanted to press charges. To skip through things a bit, my divorce lawyer was able to help me structure the case beautifully. As a complete bonus, considering this came after I confronted her for cheating, she was unremorseful, I was injured, and my daughter witnessed it. She got a week in jail and mandatory anger management classes. I hate that my little girl had to get involved a bit, but for me, it was worth it. The criminal record gladdened my heart. Then we got to the actual divorce proceedings. These lasted a long time, especially because Christine was being extremely stubborn throughout the thing, but ultimately, it was a breeze because there was way too much documented proof of bad behavior on my ex-wife's part. I mean, she had assaulted me, which she didn't deny. She had cheated on me, which she didn't deny. And she was very clearly unremorseful about either of those things. My daughter had to see her father assaulted, and again, that killed me. Now, I did mess up by firing her before I finalized the divorce, so I do have to pay a manageable amount of alimony, but only for 5 years. She's not a part of the business I built from the ground up. I have custody of my daughter because her mother's ability to control her temper and not bring strange men around my daughter is in question. I get to keep the house. Why uproot my little girl? I got to expose my wife's behavior to all her friends and family and give her a shiny criminal record. Honestly, I didn't set out to do all this, but she made it work for me. Since she's just naturally a horrible person, I wish I had seen it earlier, but it is what it is. I'm just glad the story is over, and my daughter is safe with me. Life goes on, and I'll try to rebuild eventually, but for now I'm happy with the way things went, and I hope you all are too. Edit, by the way, Alex apparently had the balls to put my name down as a reference, and I made sure to professionally outline all his shortcomings as an employee, including the fact he may try to be inappropriate with the female partners of high-ranking employees. It was fun to hear, "Oh wow, thank you for letting us know that," from the person on the other end. I guess no evil goes unpaid. First off, kudos to you for taking the term "hell hath no fury" like a man scorned to a whole new level. From texting the entire family tree to handing out pink slips like their Halloween candy, you've truly mastered the art of sweet, sweet revenge. And let's not forget the pièce de résistance, pressing charges like a boss, with a police report, a hospital report, and a whole lot of righteous anger. You turned that assault into a one-way ticket to jail for your soon-to-be ex. Talk about turning the tables. But the real cherry on top? That alimony with an expiration date. 5 years of paying for her sins seems like a small price to pay for the satisfaction of seeing her behind bars and your daughter safe and sound by your side. As for Mr. Employee of the Month, well, let's just say he's about to learn the hard way that karma is a real witch. Putting your name down as a reference? Oh, the audacity. But hey, at least you got to professionally outline all his shortcomings and watch him squirm like a worm on a hook. What are your thoughts? Would you have done anything differently? Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.